Hi, this is Mr. Carvajal, and this is our teaching lesson for the Undefeated Q&A. This was done on Friday if you have my afternoon classes, or it's going to be done on Monday if you have my morning classes. And the main point is learning how to read questions carefully and give thorough, quality, detailed answers. And the more we practice that, the easier it's going to be to do well on the test. So we're looking at two questions here for this article that we read or we're about to read. And I want you to see the questions first, because the main thing that hurts people when answering these questions is they don't answer the question completely. They just do part of it. They don't answer all of it. So look at this first question. This one is not difficult. What is the author's purpose for writing The Undefeated? You have your list in your notes in your writer's notebook. You can pick from that and use one of the generic terms for it. But more importantly, you can think for yourself, right? Use your riddle skills, infer. And what do you think is the reason the author wrote it? How does he or she sound? What are they talking about? How are they talking about the subject? You can get ideas from that and then infer riddle skills and just tell us what you think. But remember, you're going to use the key words. If the question asks, what's the author's purpose for writing? You're going to say the author's purpose for writing is, and then do that. So that's part one of the question. The second part of the question is explain and give details, right? Notice it says your answer has to be at least 100 words to be acceptable. And that's the explain and give details part. You're writing clearly so that someone who has not read The Undefeated understands what you're talking about and knows that your answer makes sense. So you're basically going to give a little summary about what's going on as related to whatever you answered for the author's purpose. So 100 words at least to get a good quality answer. The second question takes a little more work, and there's several parts to it. So let's look at this. Using a personal anecdote or identify a personal anecdote in The Undefeated. There's at least 3 in there telling little short stories, right? Personal anecdotes, little short stories to serve a purpose in The Undefeated. And I add these numbers in there. They weren't in there before, but think about the parts of the question. Once you have your anecdote, explain how it helps the author's purpose, right? Whatever you say here, the author's purpose is, well, how is this anecdote helping it? So once again, keywords. The anecdote I chose is this. It helps achieve the author's purpose by, explain that. You're going to give text evidence to show what you mean. And then there's actually a third part to the question that's implied, it's not stated. If you're giving text evidence, you have to be sure you explain the text evidence and why it's relevant. So this one, you'll probably need more like 150 words to get a good grade on it. So take your time answering these questions. Be sure and answer all parts of the question. It's easy to forget and leave something off, right? But you're going to remember because you're strong, confident, and successful. All right, so let's get to the actual article. We'll read the first half together. You can click and open the article in Schoology and read the second half on your own. The Undefeated by William C. Roden, adapted by New Zealand staff, published June 16th, 2020. It says William C. Roden, the former award-winning sports columnist for the New York Times and author of $40 Million Slaves, is a writer at large for The Undefeated. Contact him at his info. So at this time last year, our world seemed certain. Now, because of a devastating coronavirus, that world has been turned inside out. Most of us have been forced to live a virtual reality. One thing has remained unchanged is the self-defining certainty that comes from attending a historically black college or university. And that's what the initials there for, right? Historically black college or university. I attended and graduated from Morgan State University in Baltimore. The years I spent at Morgan laid the foundation for everything I would achieve in journalism. Even in the best of times, the road is never easy, but the experience is life-defining. Recently, I spoke with David Wilson. He is president of Morgan State University. We discussed the devastating impact the pandemic is having on students in general and on historically black college or university students in particular. Quote, the uniqueness of HBCUs and many minority-serving institutions is that we typically minister to the needs of a larger percentage of first-generation college-going students. And that is where you begin to see the economic divide in the country, Wilson said. First-generation students are those who are the first in their families to attend college. The pandemic has disproportionately affected first-generation serving institutions. Wilson has seen the disparity play out firsthand as schools were forced to close. Many of the elite schools closed immediately. The students made a phone call to their parents, and within hours they had plane tickets, Wilson recalled, citing news accounts. Parents were showing up in Mercedes and BMWs to pick them up. This was not the case with many students at Morgan. We had to help come up with money to help them get home, he recalled. Devastating as the virus has been, it pales in comparison with the hardship many HBCU students face. Wilson knows. He was one of those students. What a difference a generation makes. Wilson was born in McKinley, Alabama, the youngest of 10 children. His family lived in a shanty on a property where his father worked as a sharecropper. This means a landowner let the family use the land in return for a share of the crops they produce. They had no electricity or plumbing. Imagine that. He is now a college president, and look how he started out. That's so cool. Let's continue. Wilson was in the 7th grade before he attended school 5 days a week. Then one day, one of his teachers took Wilson and 4 other students on a field trip to the Tuskegee Institute. It's a historically black university in Tuskegee, Alabama. I could not believe that institution, Wilson recalled. I could not believe that institution. It was an upper middle class life that I had never seen before. I had never seen homes like that, well manicured lawns like that. The instructor took them to the statue of Booker T. Washington, founder of the school. They touched the statue. I just felt that my whole world had been turned upside down in a positive way. Wilson's went on to earn his master's degree and doctorate at Harvard, but Tuskegee changed his life. All right, he's going to go on to tell you his own story, another student's story. Those are all anecdotes. You can pick one of those to help you answer the second question. So finish reading this on your own. It's just another page and a half or so. Come back, do quality work, answer these questions, trust yourself. Remember, there is no right answer. This comes down to riddle skills, inferencing, and get them turned in. If you have any questions, message me through Schoology or email me at stephen.carvajal@nisd.net. Take care. Bye-bye.